Spencer here with PoolGenius, and I am joined by our lead analyst, Jason Lisk, and today we're talking Survivor Bowl. It's our contest that we put on this year, polling people from all across the media landscape, NFL media personnel, personalities from other sports, some celebrities in there. We went over that in our Survivor Bowl introduction video. But then they had to make the picks, and we gave them all 3 picks, and they put it on week 1, and not many of them got eliminated, did they, Jason?
No, I mean, it was a good week to get started in a survivor pool and get your feet wet. Not many eliminations in general, so not many landmines out there. That said, we did have some.
Yeah, and so, the week 1 pick rate, interestingly enough, for this Survivor Bowl, it mirrored the Circus Survivor contest that we cover on this channel and through all of our work over at PoolGenius. It was pretty identical across the board. The Broncos were the top team selected, followed by the Cardinals, about 10% on the Eagles after that, Jaguars, Bengals, and Commanders all in that 5 to 7% range. And then it went down from there, a couple on the Steelers, Rams, and a few others. So all in all, most of those teams won. Most of those teams at the top, the heavy favorites, we had 345 entries entering week 1, and we're going out of week 1 with 325 entries remaining. So that means 20 were eliminated. A few, I think there was one person that did not get their picks in, and then maybe one entry that also did not get. So someone picked 2 of 3 entries, but didn't get that third one in. So overall, the no pick rate was relatively low. We understand that happens sometimes, and this is
About
a
one.
contest for charity. So it's not like Circus Survivor where you're throwing $1,000 on each entry, so you better get that pick in. So we understand people are busy this time of year, and it does happen. But the biggest eliminator in week 1 was the Miami Dolphins, it looks like. Both the Dolphins and the Patriots, some people we had 4 entries come in on the Dolphins, and we also nope, 5 entries it looks like, and 4 entries on the Patriots. Both teams didn't live up to expectations in week 1, and the Dolphins, I mean, that's putting it very nicely for the Dolphins. They got absolutely clobbered at Indianapolis, and we had 1 entry that actually pushed all 3 in on the Dolphins, so they are out and eliminated. If you want to look through the leaderboard, see what people picked, you can go to the Survivor Bowl. We'll have that link in the description there. You can look at the leaderboard. There's quite a few remaining. I mean, I have a sneaky suspicion though after this week, Jason, it's not going to be a 95% advance rate.
No, I don't think this week is going to shape up that way. And like when we saw that triple Miami pick, we shared the meme, right? That's a bold strategy, Cotton, and it didn't work out. Like that's not something we would advise is going all in on a 50-50 shot roughly in week 1. And as it turns out, 50-50 was generous because the Dolphins looked way worse than we expected. But even going into that game, they were pick 'em, close to it. Maybe they were favored by 1, pick 'em somewhere along that, depending on what line you saw. But yeah, this week 2, I would not expect that. I mean, I wouldn't have expected it last week. The diversifiers, I think, did well last week because part of the reason you concentrate is hoping to get all 3 through without having to get too much right. But you were able to diversify this in week 1. And so now you have some different paths that may open up later in the year, depending on what entries get through for those teams. But in week 2, we have some interesting choices. Baltimore's up top, and then there's a bunch of question marks, I think, on which way you want to go. And I think that's going to be interesting in this contest to see where people go, how many settle on Baltimore and how many go elsewhere. And then who jumps up as that pick people really gravitate towards.
Yeah, and it's worth reminding people that this is a standard Survivor Pool. There are no double pick weeks. It's just make 1 pick per week. There's no buyback. There's no strikes. anything like that. Well, I guess there's no buyback because people didn't have to pay in to begin with. But that's really interesting to see the strategy. Like you see some people right off the bat playing a little bit bolder, maybe because they don't have their own money on the line. They are playing for charity, so why not take some shots with like 350 entries? And one of those entrants, you actually caught up with him earlier this week, Joe Fortenbaugh of ESPN. You sat down with him. He was kind enough to take some time out of his day, find a quiet space, as you will find in that interview. Quite the unique quiet space, if I want to foreshadow that a little more. You caught up with him and talked week 2 strategy, so let's go to that interview now.
I'm here now with Joe Fortenbaugh of ESPN. Joe does a lot of things in the betting space. Joe, why don't you give us a rundown of everything you're involved in there at ESPN for football season?
How much time you got? Because at football season, it feels like, it's, this, Jason, it's pedal to the metal all the way through every single holiday until February when you go like this. And then before you know it, it's football season again. But I'm lucky. I get to work on ESPN Bet Live. So we're talking betting all week long, ESPN2, generally 6:30 to 7. I have the
Mhm.
opportunity to chop it up with Greeny and the crew on Get Up and to join Stephen A on First Take. Those are on Fridays. And then I get the opportunity to go on SportsCenter throughout the week to talk bets. So it's really about taking something I've been doing my whole life anyway, and then somehow they decided to pay me to do it here and to show up on all these shows and discuss the action. It's a wild life when you think about it.
Yeah, and I assume they don't allow the Hawaiian shirt on Fridays, I'm guessing. So we gotta get it in before Friday. As
Well,
we
it's
were
funny. Like this is how I dress. Like when I was living in San Francisco doing sports talk radio, I was there from 2014 to 2020, and we moved down to Vegas to take the job full time with ESPN. Now this was my second time living in Vegas. I was there from 2011 to 2014, and then 2020 to 2023. When we moved back there, I kind of did a whole thing with my wardrobe where I was like, we're out of San Francisco. We're back in the desert. This place is low key. I just basically bought like 1,000 flower print shirts and I've been wearing them ever since. But when you move to Connecticut and you wear this stuff in the winter, people think it's odd. And I haven't really made any adjustments since because I hate shopping for clothes. So here we are with yet another flower print shirt.
well, I love the wardrobe, so I'd say be you
Thank you.
and wear it out. Um, so for before we came on here, Joe's in a this you see that nice decoration behind him, right? All the
Yeah.
fancy stuff. He gave us a little inside scoop, spilled the tea a little bit. There's like little cubicles at ESPN you can shut off and jump on meetings. That's where he's joining us. So he's there at ESPN right now. Found himself a room to do this interview, so we appreciate him coming on.
It's not even a room. It's like it's a porta potty. We have these like porta potty shaped structures all throughout campus where you can jump in. There's like a little desk. It's literally the size of a porta potty, but it's completely soundproof. So people jump into these things for meetings and podcast hits and radio hits. And I've always walked by him thinking that is so odd that anyone would want to go into a confined space like that to do it. And then today, you and I were going to be talking, and I had literally nowhere to go. And I saw one of these, and I thought, well, the joke's on you now, Fortenbaugh. You mocked this for 2 years, and now
Yeah.
here you are, fully immersed in the soundproof porta potty.
Well, I'm glad we got to be the initial journey into the porta potty. Um, so you're playing. We have you on to talk about our Survivor Bowl contest that you're in, that we're running this year, Survivor Bowl 1, where we have a lot of different media partners and personalities and people we've met over the years in this contest. A really exciting contest, and part of the feature is we're giving money to both the winner and the winner's charity. Now, I think you have a special story. What charity would you want to donate to if you can take this thing down?
So I'm here in Connecticut. I would choose Dog Star Rescue, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a rescue for dogs. It's near and dear to my heart because my wife, Nikki, is always been a very passionate animal lover, animal supporter. She grew up outside Buffalo, New York, where she was always volunteering at animal rescues. This is her thing. So we moved to Connecticut and she was looking for something to do and get involved. She worked at the Nevada SPCA when we were in Vegas. She started with Dog Star. They needed someone to step up as an executive director of the board, and she's done that for over a year now. So she's doing a wonderful job with the charity. obviously my first thought would be if we somehow get lucky enough to win this, that's where the donation would go. And to tell you the truth, the money come in, like you give 5,000 to charity and then another 10K to the winner. Most of that's probably going to Dog Star as well. They're doing great work over there with these dogs who are just, some of them come from truly awful situations. And we've already been bringing them into the house. Like if I had room for more dogs, we'd be taking more of them on. At some point, you got to put your hands up and say, look, we don't have a barn. If we have a barn one day, sure, we could take on more dogs, but Dog Star Rescue would be the charity of choice.
Well, that's great, and you get to hopefully take this thing down and get some goodwill at home. Not that you don't already have it, but that's an awesome story. Really great that you have that, and good luck as you go forward. Now, let's talk about your experience in Survivor Bowls, and then we're going to talk about this week in Survivor as we think about this contest. But what pools have you played in Survivor? Do you have any past Survivor experience that you want to tell us about that is memorable?
Plenty. Well, when it comes to Survivor, the dichotomy that is the life of Joe Fortenbaugh in Survivor is that there is nothing I enjoy more from like a contest betting perspective than Survivor. I absolutely live for this. It's my favorite thing about the football season every year. However, I absolutely suck at Survivor. I always have. It's possible I always will. So the thing I love the most about wagering or betting or contest playing for football is the thing I'm the worst at. So it's a tough life to get this emotional about something. It's
we like to
right?
do, sometimes we have hobbies that, maybe they aren't
Human
they're the thing we're
beings
best at, but we love them, right?
are not rational, right? Human beings are not rational. So here we are. That's actually why I have the mustache. This is the 4th year in a row I've grown the mustache. I tie it to my Survivor pick. It's a bit I do every year where we shave it on the TV show the day after my Survivor pick dies. And the first year we did it, I lost in week 1. And immediately it was like we built this up for a month and then immediately lost with the Bears-Niners week 1. If you remember that game, Trey Lance was starting for the Niners. They go to Chicago. The Bears were supposed to be crap. The Bears turned out to be crap. But in that game, it was pouring rain. Trey Lance stunk, and the Bears shocked the world and pulled the upset, and the Niners probably went on to lose the Super Bowl. So that was the end of the mustache. And that's probably the second time of the last 6 years where I got blasted in week 1. I had one run recently where you asked about other Survivor contests. I play in Circus Survivor. It's one of my favorite things to do. And I think the first year I did it, I want to say maybe 5 years ago, I was in Vegas. I was able to get to the middle of Thanksgiving or the middle of November, which was huge because with Circa, it's not the 18-week NFL season. It's 20 weeks. Yeah. You have to pick a winner from the Thanksgiving Black Friday card, which is only 4 games. Then you advance to the weekend, that weekend, and you need a winner. And then you need a winner from the Christmas games. And then again that weekend. So those are the 2 extra weeks, Thanksgiving and Christmas. And you always have to have an eye on those teams. Like you can't burn through all the Christmas and Thanksgiving teams and then get there and have nobody. So we got to about the middle of November and then crapped out right before that. That was one of my all-time runs because when you're in a contest of that magnitude, which is paying millions, and you get into November, suddenly that takes over your life. Like the Survivor pick is very high on the list of priorities for your week. Like Survivor, kids, wife, ESPN, kind of how it works.
Okay. Yeah, that's a good priority list. And for those out there, PoolGenius, this year we have our Circus Survivor tools where you can actually see our season planners adapted to the holiday weeks. So check that out. We have that open for free for the next week where you can check that out if you're in the contest or just like to follow along. And so we do have that this year. We launched that. I've been writing advice for that contest over the last several years. So that brings us to this week, right? So last week, as you said, it was we can see data going back a decade. This was the highest survival week 1 in that time frame. There was another one that was about 89%. We were probably at 95% plus in most pools.
Jeez.
So because pretty much it was the Patriots or somebody picked the Chiefs or the Dolphins or somebody, they got clipped. But all the top 6 in popularity got through. So that sets up an interesting dynamic as we head to week 2. I don't know if you want to give out your Circa pick or, live here, but Baltimore is the biggest favorite But Baltimore plays on Thanksgiving as probably the second biggest favorite I would project right now, and probably way low owned compared to Philadelphia in that contest. So, I mean, that's in consideration. Um, Baltimore generally is just one of the best teams. You're going to look on the odds board and Baltimore's going to be up there every week. Almost, except when
Yeah.
they play, a couple teams. They're going to be a 7-point favorite or more a lot this year. And so the question is, what are you doing? Do you think you're saving Baltimore? Are you using Baltimore on some? What is your strategy with Baltimore this week?
So just full transparency, haven't decided yet. Normally the decision is made at the end of the week, probably about Saturday morning. You want to see the injury reports. You want to make sure you get as good of a weather report as you can get so there's no surprises, a la the damn Bears-Niners pick from 4 years ago. So we want to make sure we're in a good spot there. I would tell you with Baltimore, obviously that's going to be a heavy selection. I can understand why people would want to take them. Bounce back spot, Browns stink, all that. I'd be looking to save them. Even if they weren't playing on the holiday, I would look to probably stash them down the road. The one I've had my eye on for a while here was Arizona. In the one, like I know I used Arizona in one of my selections with you guys last week, but for all the places I went, Denver, which was super trendy, it was with an eye to Arizona in week 2, home opener. You're going to host a Carolina team that just looked dreadful against Jacksonville last week. So that's going to be near the top of the list. They're going to be in the strongest consideration. I'm toying with the idea of New England over Miami. I know it's on the road. I got a feeling Miami might be one of these teams that just isn't even going to show up this year. Nothing seems right with those guys. They don't seem like they're on the same page. They don't seem bought in. It seems like there's a major issue there. They feel like a good bet against, but do I want to play a young quarterback just getting acclimated with his new head coach, Mike Vrabel, on the road against a divisional opponent? That's somewhat problematic to me, but it's something I'm keeping an eye on. So that's what I've been working through right now. Dallas against the Giants. I don't necessarily trust the Dallas defense. That one stands out. I think there might be some better opportunities. But
I think you can get Dallas steamed up here, Joe. I think Dallas they don't have a ton of future value, so people will be drawn to them. But if they get steamed up in that 10-15% range, then do you want to be on them? That's a question people are going to have to decide, right? If you're staying
right,
off
and the Giants can play some defense too. Like that's the thing. I could see them showing up there, and Russ stinks. Like he stunk against the Commanders. I want to believe he's going to be able to do something against this defense, which isn't good at all. But again, like that's going to be a bet for me. Like I'm already looking at the Giants plus the points. I'll tell you what I'm staying away from that I think a lot of people are going to gravitate to. Rams at Tennessee. Tennessee looked terrible against Denver. It was only close because the Broncos let them hang around. And the Rams looked very good against the Texans team. I think a lot of people are bought into. You're going to turn around. You're going to go on the road, early start time. Tennessee's defense was impressive in that game. I watched more of that game than I wanted to because of the survivor implications and because I had a bunch of teaser bets on Denver. That's the one that really stands out to me as a potential upset. Like maybe Cam Ward shocks the world a little bit and the Rams go down. We've seen McVay have problems early in the season each of the last couple years. So that's the one I circled where I think a decent amount of people could be on the Rams and that could blow them up in the process.
And you're killing me, Joe, because I kind of like the Rams, but I'll tell you why I like them. I don't. Well, to me, this is a coaching mismatch of epic proportions.
Yeah.
I would like the Titans, except I don't think they have a good coach, and I think they have a coach that will actually they could keep it close, and then he'll blow the end of the game. He doesn't even know what a catch is, and so
fair.
And so having McVay versus Callahan feels like one of those mismatches there where you're getting a little equity on the coaching side in close games, but we'll see.
What do you do with Bills Jets? Because the Bills just wowed everybody with that comeback win. Jets, of course, find a way to lose. Bills are laying close to a touchdown on the road. I don't know what to make of this Jets team because I thought they'd be able to play D but not score on O, and it was the exact opposite in week 1. That's a major wild card for me here.
Yeah, I'm probably saving the Bills just on the grounds of not even messing with handicapping it because I think the Bills will have a lot better spots. The Bills have the easiest schedule in the NFL from this point.
Good point.
Including in week 4, they're playing the Saints at home. And
yeah, that feels like the Bills.
That line could be -14, by then, and it could be 86, 87% win odds, right? So even if they're 35, 40% owned, that they're gonna be a high play. So that's kind of my thought on that. I great notes on, did want to add this on Miami. I thought I do adjustments. I handicap and set some future value numbers and like future win odds. And I try to be conservative. Like I did like change San Francisco's because of all the injuries. So I have them rated higher later in the year. Um, I thought about dinging Miami in the short term and boosting them after week 6 when they have an interim coach. But then I
Okay.
was like, "Well, that's a little too speculative for me. I probably shouldn't, but that's in play, right? That's in play."
It feels like that's where we're trending. I mean, look, half the teams are going to lose in week 1. That's obviously just how the math works. But to not even show up, like I know that there is this, we always talk in sports betting, you know this as well as anyone. The overreactions in week 1 set up wonderful betting opportunities in week 2. And one of those is the idea that, like, all of a sudden, Daniel Jones is a really good quarterback. We've got years of data that shows us he isn't. But we've got this one recency bias game against Miami where suddenly he looks fantastic. Here comes Denver, who looked really sloppy in week 1. Total open 44.5 and came flying down to 41.5 like that. What does that tell you? Right? It doesn't tell you that, oh my God, the Colts and Broncos have such great defenses, which they do have good defenses. It tells us that number was too high based on Indy's offense. They're going to struggle here. So that's
Yeah,
one of those things where as we look through some of these overreactions, that's going to be where we have to keep our mind straight for week 2.
yeah, he definitely had time in week 1 and guys running
Yeah.
free that I think won't be there in week 2.
No.
So that's a great breakdown from Joe here. It's been a great breakdown to head into our contest. Any predictions for this contest going forward in your general strategy? Like what do you
You
hoping
got
to
a
do?
lot of good people in this contest. I saw Jonathan Bales in there. I saw Doug Kazarian in there. I apologize if I'm not shouting out any of the other bright minds. There's a
There's
lot of
100
bright
names.
minds.
Yeah, there's over 100 names,
Yeah.
so
Like as you're scrolling through, I was noticing a lot of guys who really know their stuff. So as I was going through, I was thinking to myself, all right, you're going to give 3 entries to all these people. This is
yeah.
going to be a lot of fun to watch, especially when we can see the thought process behind what a lot of these guys do. Because these are predictive thinkers. These are smart thinkers. These are guys that have had success in these markets and other markets throughout their careers. There's a lot to learn from people like that. So I think you guys put together a really good contest. I was really impressed with the roster, and given my piss poor track record of doing this, I would love to just be hovering around
That's
somewhere at
right.
the midway point with a chance to make a
Just
run at it. But you got some really good people here.
just get to the halfway point and play, and then you got a chance. So,
Yeah,
well, it's been
exactly.
great to have you on. Like you said, really tough contest. Looking forward to it throughout the year. Looking forward to your picks. I hope you have the mustache next week. And you check Joe out on ESPN. Thanks for your time, and good luck
Oh,
to
it's my
everybody.
pleasure, Jason.
Yep. Thank you very much, Joe.